And good morning, everybody, and welcome in to another edition of the Pattison Sports Show. I'm your host, James Scorza, with you, and with me, as always, is a companion and a brother from another, and also my. Actually, this is a funny fact too, but a lot of things going on in the rise right now. But Joey Marks on this very important Saturday. Joey, how you doing, my friend? And good to see you.
Good morning, James. Good morning, Philadelphia. Welcome in. We got a jam-packed and exciting show to share with all of you today. So grab that cup of coffee, grab that Danish, and let's get going, man.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. And we got a lot of, like we said, we have a jam-packed show today. We will recap the Eagles' schedule. We were supposed to have on Scott Churston today, but a family matter happened to him. So hopefully, our thoughts and concerns are with Scott and his family right now with this. Hopefully, everything is okay with Scott. But Joe, and also we got an interview coming up later on our show too with our friends over at OneCourt. But Joe, we got a jam-packed show, like you said, my friend. So simply put, where do we begin?
Well, the biggest news of the week was the Eagles' schedule release. I mean, the much anticipated schedule release. And we're going to
Definitely.
go through chunk by chunk. Me and James are going to go through what we think is possibly going to happen. So, James, if you can pull the graphic up for the schedule and
Certainly.
take us through the first four games, if you
Yeah,
can.
absolutely. As we always do, and also before we get into our schedule, our good friend and our Don, the Dom himself, and also the boss man, Mitch Kofsky, joins us. Says good morning to us, and also check out Fly. Speaking of the birds, check out Fly Like an Eagle every Friday with myself, yours truly, Joey Marks, and Mitch Kofsky, talking all things birds, and we keep on killing it every week, man. But speaking of the schedule, the first 4 weeks of the season actually looks good for the Birds. We have the first game of the season. It's the Dallas week early on in the season on opening night when we raise the banner against the Cowboys. That's on September the 4th. And man, and also, speaking of Mitch, that's his birthday, but that's going to be a game that's going to be something to look forward to seeing. Another banner and also a celebration down Broad Street once again. The second week of the season, that is the Chiefs. That will be the Super Bowl rematch of last year's Super Bowl and 57. But I can understand right now that could be even more easier because that's around the time the Eagles are going to be playing them without seeing Mahomes. Become Mahomes, obviously. That's going to be something to keep a close eye on, too. The third week of the season, that is September 21st. That is against the Los Angeles Rams. That's set for 1 o'clock. And the week 4, that game is like we always I think we always never do good in Tampa, but this will be the year that we finally break the camel's back and probably win something in Tampa. So that is weeks 1 to 4. So Joe, I'll let you. I'll take you. I'll lean you into this. So, where do you see this team going at for the next? I mean, if you want to talk about the schedule, at least, where do you see this team going at, especially in these first couple weeks of the season?
So I think Dallas is a win. I think it's a win because we're gonna that team that building is gonna be palpable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not just banner raising. I mean, that would be big enough.
Right.
Raising another banner would be big enough. But then you do it against the Cowboys.
The Cowboys.
It makes you want to just like say I can't wait to that day. I can't wait. Like
Oh man.
you think that we tailgate before a Thursday a banner night with the Cowboys, that FDR Park and the parking lots at Lincoln Financial Field, you will see people showing up at like 6 a.m. I
Yeah.
promise you that
Yeah, man.
because it's going to be an all day party. The people that go to work on that day, get ready, bosses. They're gonna call out. Like that's gonna happen. It's gonna be a
Definitely.
lot of bird flu, and I'm not talking about the bird flu. I'm talking about the Eagles bird flu. So for Kansas City, I believe it's going to be a win because
Mm-hmm.
here's the thing: as much as people believe that, um, Kansas City is Mahomes and is still Mahomes and all that. Kansas City got better, and the Eagles didn't get much better and all that. Jalen Hurts, for all the matchups that Jalen Hurts has faced Patrick Mahomes, he's got an extraordinary winning record
Yep.
against him, and more so than most quarterbacks in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen wishes he had Jalen Hurts' head-to-head record against Patrick Mahomes. He honestly does. He probably would have gone to the Super Bowl by now. But, the idea that I feel like both teams are still gonna be catching their footing. I think it's gonna be an ugly game, but I honestly think that Jalen is gonna be uh, shine a little brighter than Patrick Mahomes, as he always does on that day in particular. So I have that as a win too. The Rams the Rams are interesting because this is a pick'em game. This is a coin flip game in my mind because the Rams got better, but you have Matthew Stafford. I mean, that's the thing. That's the X factor for me that makes me feel like, okay, can they really beat us? Because Matthew Stafford's 1 year older. Everyone puts him on a pedestal, but like, dude, outside of last season, I am not all that, and the Super Bowl season, I'm not all that impressed.
Me neither. Me neither, man.
So, the idea, I'm gonna go with the win,
Mm-hmm.
Eagles against the Rams. But again, it's a coin flip. The Bucks, I hate to say this because I really hate that they scheduled this the way that they did.
Hmm.
I have the Bucks as a loss because that's a house of horrors. That
Yeah.
place.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
agree.
a house of horrors. Like, if they were here, it'd be different. If they
Right.
were in Philly, it would be different, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I would almost have been okay with us going to the Rams and then Tampa Bay coming to us. Like,
Hmm.
I think that would have been a 4-0 start,
Yeah.
honestly. But I have us at 3-1 to start the season.
Yeah, I'm in the same category as you, Joe. I see the Dallas first game of the season. I mean, that place is going to be, like you said, in the words of Stevie Ray Vaughan would say, the place is going to be rocking. So that place right there. I mean, especially on opening night of the season, like you said it best too, Joe. People are going to be tailgating at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday before the actual game of the season. It's going to feel like a Sunday afternoon. But the
Mhm.
difference is, it's gonna. I mean, that place is gonna be, man, that place is gonna be jumping. So I see the Eagles. I gotta see. I mean, I would say I mean, you know how much of a homer I am, but I would love to see the Eagles blow them out. Just come out of the gate and just see Saquon run a 90
Blow the
yard
doors
run.
off the Cowboys.
Yeah, right, exactly. And just like Saquon like runs like a big 90 like 90 yard to the house just to say, yeah, like since we're the Super Bowl champions, now you just can't leave, something like that. The Chiefs one though, that's interesting because you, like I said, I brought up earlier when we talked about it. The Chiefs, seeing them early on in the season and also play the second week of the season as that Super Bowl rematch, that also can go in the Eagles' favor too because like you're not getting Mahomes like at the ending parts of the season when he starts to really start to cook. So that's going to be the most important thing. I see the Eagles win that game. I mean, I think this will be the final of the year. The Eagles finally take down. I mean, Arrowhead's not going to be like really like crazy like how they are. I mean, I think Arrowhead's gonna like have to come down a little bit of the earth a little bit, and the same thing with the Chiefs too. I mean, I haven't seen the Chiefs. I mean, they're gonna be good, but I don't think they're gonna be like just as good as the Eagles. That Rams game, like you even said, that's perfectly said by you too about Matthew Stafford because he's like how old is he now? Like 30, like close to 40 years
38,
old.
39, almost 40. Yep.
Yeah, I thought so, and that's the thing too. I mean, I could see the Eagles win that game, and that's the other thing too is that like they have to come here to Philadelphia again. It's not like we have to go to L.A.,
Yep.
and that's the most important thing about the schedule too. The Tampa Bay one, I would say it's a loss, but the difference is we don't do well in Tampa Bay, and that place always gives me headaches regardless of where we go. So Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you, Joe. I think the Eagles go 3-1 on this opening parts of the season.
Yeah, and like, look, my feeling with Kansas City
Mm-hmm.
is the part of what we have been able to do in Arrowhead. I go back to like 2 seasons ago. We're going to Arrowhead late in the season where it's bitter cold and it was rainy, and we
Mm-hmm.
still won. And we really, I don't know if we were getting the kind of footing that we would have normally gotten. I think
Mm-hmm.
we just came to play.
Right.
And, for me, I just think that the Kansas City game this early, you're going to Kansas City and Arrowhead where it's not going to be bitter cold. You're
Right.
not going to have to worry about the elements quite as much. Yes, I think the Kingdom will be rocking a bit because it's a Super Bowl rematch. But I'm with you. It's not going to be in full fervor
Mm-hmm.
because the Kansas City Arrowhead doesn't really get into full fervor until like December.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's when they start igniting.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting. And I haven't looked at Kansas City's schedule, but I believe that's their home opener. So,
Yeah.
that would be, a pretty big hyped up home opener.
Yeah. And
Um,
and mind you too, I think the Chiefs open up in Brazil actually to start the
really?
season. Yeah. Yeah. They start open the season in Brazil. Yep. So
Wow.
that will be the first game. So of the home slate. Philly halftime checks in and says good morning to us. Check out Mitch Kopsky and Philly halftime every single week around the time around 10 o'clock or so on Hardcore Sports Network. So I guess I would think they're on today though, if I'm not mistaken. But I forget
Right.
what Mitch was saying. But let's go back to the schedule here. So after the Tampa Bay game, we got the Broncos coming into town. That's on October the 5th in Week 5. And then we play the Giants in a matter of 2 weeks. So we play them on October the 9th on Thursday Night Football. And then in between, we have the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. So it'll be another deja vu over again of the first Super Bowl that we won back of Super Bowl 52. And then we play the Giants once again at the beginning, I'm sorry, at the end of October. That will be on October the 26th. That's at the Link. And right after that, we have the bye week around week 9. So Joey, where do you see this team go from weeks 5 to 8, actually, or 5 to 9?
L Here's my thing. So I'm gonna start with the Broncos. The Broncos are interesting,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like the Broncos are an up and coming team, and it's hard to say that when you have a quarterback that's a second year quarterback that's like 29 years old.
Yeah, right.
But the idea that that could also be a coin flip, and I'm glad we're not playing in Mile High because you want to talk about a house of horrors for the Eagles. Mile High Stadium is a house of horrors.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
so I'm glad they're coming here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have this as a win for the Eagles.
Okay.
I have this, and the Giants. I'll make this real quick. The Giants, Vikings, and Giants. I feel like this is a 4-0 little chunk.
Hmm.
So I have the Eagles at 7-1 at by
Wow.
by bye week. So, 7-1 is well above the average. I think that the second half of the season, you're going to start to see a little, and we'll get to it in a minute, but the second half of the season, I feel like they're going to have clinched you'll like what I have to say about where I think we clinch.
Hmm.
So yeah, I got them at 4-0 in this chunk.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I think this is where obviously this is where they make their run. I think the one thing is for sure though, I don't see any losses on this schedule, because you think about Denver, they're still dealing with a quarterback that's still trying to make it into his own, obviously,
Yeah.
and you even alluded to. I mean, there's a chance there could be a sophomore slump in there with
Mhm.
Bo Nix, so that could be a possibility too. And catching them at the right time is the most important thing about actually. The thing that I like about it too is that the Broncos have to come here instead of dealing with that altitude up in Colorado. So that's the
Yep.
most important thing. And even you said it too, best. That Mile High has been a house of horrors for the Eagles for God knows apparent reason. So I see the Eagles win that one, so that's going to be a good one to see, especially with Sean Payton and Bo Nix having store. But I think the Eagles win that one. The second game, the Giants one, I think the Giants sweep. I think the Eagles sweep the Giants. Excuse me. I think there's no chance in hell that the Eagles lose to the Giants either at MetLife or at the Link 2 weeks later. So I see the Eagles basically sweeping the Giants because the Giants are still like the Giants are the Giants. So that's the one thing. And for the Vikings one, this is interesting, Joe, but I forgot to tell you about this yesterday. I think I brought it up, but I didn't bring it up. I think I did, but I'm not mistaken. That is actually I think it's probably the week before or the week after they go to Dublin and England back-to-back weeks. So they got the Steelers against Dublin in Dublin to take on the Steelers in Dublin, and then they play the Browns in England, and then I think they come home to take on the Eagles around that same week.
What?
I know, it's crazy.
Nuts.
Oh, dude, I know.
What in the world?
Oh, dude, I know. I mean, the Vikings schedule is brutal, man. It's brutal.
You said that last night, but you didn't go into too much of the details.
Yeah.
You telling me this now? Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Now I kind of feel bad for the Vikings.
I know.
And you got to think too. So are we going to Minnesota?
That's in Minnesota. That's in
Okay.
Minnesota. Yeah.
So, but I mean, maybe that's a pleasure, but they might be exhausted by that.
Oh God, I know.
I would hope that they're smart enough to stay in Europe after Dublin. Like, first off, that's badass. I would love to go to a Dublin game. That's badass. More or less to have more pints of beer than to watch an actual football game. But that's here nor there.
Yeah.
And look, NFL next time. I'm just throwing this out there. The Eagles have Kelly Green in their jersey. You send them to Ireland, you can put a little shamrock there. But makes sense. Just saying. You get a lot of people to go to Dublin, and Philly already drinks. Makes a lot of sense. Use your head, McFly. But no, that's rough. I mean, I really hope they stay in Europe because I can't imagine you go to Dublin, fly back to Minnesota, then fly back to London, then fly back to Minnesota. That just seems a little ridiculous.
I'm trying to think of it now. I think it's actually no. I think they have They go to Dublin and then they go to England and then they play the Birds around after that that Europe trip. Because if they do Dublin and Minnesota and back in London, I mean that'll be insane. That's
just
ludicrous. That's ludicrous, man. We got a comment here. A Broken Bell Network says this schedule is effing stupid. So
okay.
I mean, all right.
I think he means I hope he means.
I hope he means the Viking schedule.
Yeah, because I 100% agree with that. I mean, share the wealth, NFL. Like you already have them in a Dublin game. Like we get it.
Yeah.
And like you're gonna put them against the Minnesota against the Steelers. Okay, what on earth are you selling there? Like the Steelers might not have a quarterback, and Minnesota's got a rookie. Essentially a rookie. And then you got Minnesota versus Cleveland. That's not a good booking. That's just not.
No.
I'm sorry.
I would have thought the Giants will be one of those teams that will have to deal with a broken schedule like Minnesota, but Minnesota got screwed.
I thought Buffalo would be. You know, like how Buffalo fans travel. Yeah. Like they're rampant. And like, I don't know. Like I don't think that's a good pick. I don't know who came up with booking that game in those. I mean, you want to get that, sell those stadiums out. You ain't doing it with Minnesota and Cleveland.
No.
You ain't doing it with Minnesota and the Steelers if Aaron Rodgers ain't quarterbacking.
I would have thought maybe a good one for that would have been probably like the Packers or something. Minnesota.
Packers is another good one.
Yeah. So speaking of the Packers, this is what I talked about yesterday with the I guess I can say semi-gauntlet that I talked about
Right.
yesterday with the Packers. So after the bye week, they go up to Lambeau to take on the Pack. That's set for Week 10, and then that's a Monday night game. And then they play another primetime game 1 week later. That will be on November the 16th in Week 11, as they take on the Detroit Lions here. As hang on before we go any further, so. He says the one we just commented here, Broken Bill. He says the Eagles' schedule is bad. The fact we play divisional rivals twice within 3 weeks
Yeah.
is really just not.
It's not good planning by the scheduler.
I understand that. Yeah,
I agree with that. I
yeah,
agree
it
with
makes
that.
sense. Yeah, that makes sense. So back to the schedule here, real quick. So what do you see? And then also, excuse me, I'm sorry about that. So after the NFC North teams between the Packers and the Lions, that's weeks 10 and 11. They play the Cowboys for the final time in the season. That will be November the 23rd, before the week of Thanksgiving, when they take on the Chiefs as the Cowboys. So that's going to be a short week for the Eagles too. So what do you see? What do you see the Eagles do from weeks from 10 to 12?
Oh, you're going to see an interview by OneCourt at the end of this show. November 23rd is 3 days before my birthday, and you're telling me that they're playing the Cowboys, and they're playing them in Dallas. I understand, but
Yeah,
that's a nice little early birthday present.
yeah.
Anyhow,
Their sweetness.
yeah. So are we playing Detroit in Detroit, or are they coming here?
No, they're playing. They're coming here. They're coming to the
Okay,
lake.
so this is where I say like the schedule gets a little dicey.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Packers is a loss because I think Green Bay has a vendetta. They and look, Green Bay is rampant, especially in prime time. So that could be a raucous crowd, and they could be just hitting their stride. I get that we're just coming off the bye, and that should be a win for the Eagles. This one I see is a little dicey. I'm going to say it's a loss to the Packers. I'm going to say it's a win by the Eagles against the Lions. Here's the thing. We talk about House of Horrors for the Eagles. The link and Philadelphia has been a House of Horrors for the Lions for the longest time.
Yeah.
So even going back to the Veterans Stadium days.
Yep.
So I got them winning there. Here's what people are going to be like. The Eagles haven't swept the Cowboys in a season series in over 11 years. I don't think that, like, I would rather hedge my bet to say that they're going to just split the series between the Cowboys. So I got, and in Big D, like, they always get ripped off by the refs. So I got a loss here. So I got a 1-2 here, which brings my total up to 8-3.
Okay. So, for me, I'm like I said, I'm right there with you. I think Green Bay in that environment, especially like that cold temperatures, like starting to be on the rise for Green Bay. I actually see the Eagles winning that one because I think that might be the game to see, like, because obviously the tush push being banned and seeing just Matt LaFleur like having his hair on fire because AJ Dillon is just tormented on both sides.
Wouldn't that be sweet?
That would be awesome, man.
Sweet?
Yeah, man. So I got the Eagles win that one. Not blow out them, obviously, but I think it's going to be a little bit close game until the end because the Packers always play to competition, especially in that postseason last year like they did, and especially the Brazil game a couple nights ago when I was watching. Week 11, the Lions, I would be sure if there is a loss in there, I would say that could be it, but then again, Detroit lost a couple coordinators. They lost Aaron Glenn. They lost Ben Johnson. So that's something that will be interesting to see. But I think I might count that as a loss because I think the Lions are just a good team. And then the Eagles will probably see them again, probably in that NFC Championship game. That's going to probably be a preview of that NFC Championship game if they get there. So that's something to keep a close eye on. For me, yeah, I think the Eagles. Like, I mean, I don't want to sell. I mean, maybe that'll be the Kelly, one of those Kelly Green games, like because I think they're gonna be wearing them like 4 times this year. Gonna admit too.
Nice.
So it's good. It's gonna be cool to see that stuff, especially deja vu. Especially last time the Eagles took on the Lions and Kelly Green, I think it was like 95 or something. It was like 55-7 at half. At the half,
I watched that game.
yeah,
It was it was a playoff game, I believe.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
So
Yep. And speaking of the Cowboys, we just brought up early on in the first portion of our show. That's going to be the season series between them. Um, if I had to pick and choose between either losses between the Lions or the Cowboys, I gotta say maybe that the Cowboys probably will win that one, like you said, because Jerry Jones will be hanging on by a thread, like to give the refs, to pay the refs, like to try to rig the game, if you know what I mean. So that's gonna be
yeah.
the most important thing too. So,
So
for
you have them at 8-3 at this point too. Okay.
yes, I
All
think
right.
so. Yeah.
All right.
Actually, you
So
know what? I say the Lions won as a win, and the Cowboys won as a loss.
okay, so you're at 9-2. All right,
9-2.
cool.
Okay. All right.
So
So
let's move on.
we got the last portion of our show, the last portion of the schedule. Excuse me. We got the Black Friday game right after the Cowboys on the 23rd. So that's a Black Friday game between the Chicago Bears, and that's Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson and the new proof team. After that, they go on Monday Night Football to take on exactly after that Thursday Night Football game. They'll have a lot of time off from that Black Friday game, and then they'll play on that Monday night on December the 8th when they take on the Chargers. That's at SoFi Stadium, or Merrill will call it SoFi Stadium, because every time when I hear stories about that, it's actually one time he said it's actually worse than FedEx Field, gonna admit.
Wow.
So that's something to be interested to hear about
Interesting.
that
Yeah,
too.
considering it's a newer stadium, that's interesting. Merrill
Yeah,
says that. All right.
yeah. So we got the Chargers. So like I said, the Bears. Black Friday Chargers week 14, week 15. They play the Raiders, as Chris Berman would say. That's set for December 14th. That's week 15. Week 16, we got the Commanders. That's a Christmas day. I would bet that's the week before Christmas. So we got 13, 14, and 15. So you probably see this team actually starting to look to trying to win that division. So I mean, if you may, do you see the Eagles winning trying to capture that NFC East crown in one of those games?
So let me go to uh the Bears game. So the
Hmm.
Bears game is going to be an interesting thing. Now that's in Chicago.
No, it's here.
Okay, it's here. Cool. Because last time we were in Chicago, when it was cold,
The double
Jalen
doink.
Hurts got hurt.
Oh,
So
oh yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
yeah, so I'm glad we're not going to the frozen tundra. That's
yeah.
fine. So I have that as a win
Mm-hmm.
with the Bears. The Chargers are interesting because
Mm-hmm.
Justin Herbert's good. The offense is good, but you have Harbaugh that takes pride on that defense.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be hard for the Eagles. That may be a 10-3 game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you all right now, that's going to be a boring game
Yeah.
because it's going to be punt after punt after punt after punt after punt. I'm going to go out on a limb. The over under for punts in that game is going to be 10. And I would take the over. And that's just my feeling because
Right.
you're going to have Vic Fangio's defense going against Harbaugh's defense.
Yeah.
And, he's had a year or so to kind of recruit the players he wanted now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be an interesting thing. I have this as a loss
Hmm.
because we got to go cross country. We have to face a good defense. It's going to be an ugly game. Look, if the Eagles penetrate the defense, the game changes.
Mm-hmm.
If they start like dropping 14, 21 points at halftime, by halftime, that game changes
Mm-hmm.
because Harbaugh doesn't know how to play a score fest game. He just doesn't.
Right.
He takes pride in his defense locking down and mucking up the game. So if it's an ugly game, I see that as a loss.
Hmm.
The next game is against those Raiders. And listen, Tom Brady can be the owner. Derek Jeter could be the owner for all I care. Freaking Michael Jordan could be the owner for all I care. Here's the thing: I don't care what goat you put as the owner of the as the Las Vegas Raiders. They still suck. They still do not have enough in that team to play well. You have guys that are star athletes like Josh Jacobs and what was it? Devontae Adams,
Yeah.
who wanted to leave because it's not a good team. So I have this as an emphatic loss. I mean, I'm sorry, a loss for the Raiders, a win for the Eagles.
Oh, okay, okay. I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
so I have it as an emphatic win for the Eagles. I feel like I was almost speaking to the Raiders universe, like an emphatic loss for you. But
Probably a
yeah.
50 burger, probably like set for that game.
Well, if you want to talk about where Saquon might go off, woo, woo,
That could be it.
that could be it, baby. So I have that as a win. And then we start with the Commanders. Uh that's in Landover.
Hmm.
And I have that as a loss.
Yeah.
I because we don't do well there, and they might be hitting a stride, and that worries me.
Hmm.
So I have that as a loss. Um,
I
to
think it's
go
the
into
Bills after that too. Like after
Bills
that.
and then Commanders. So I'll
Yeah.
go into the Bills. So the Bills in Orchard Park
Hmm.
in December. It's gonna snow.
Yeah.
It's gonna snow, folks. I'm not a weather meteorologist. It's going to snow in December in Buffalo.
Yeah.
We may need a snowplow to get us up there. Uh Anyhow, so I have this as a loss.
Hmm.
And so that's back-to-back losses. Now the Eagles face the Commanders again at home in the season finale. James, this is where it might shock you.
Hmm.
I want to go back to the game before the I want to go back to the Raiders game.
Hmm.
I feel like the Eagles will clinch the division by then.
Wow.
I think that the last 3 weeks of the season it will be about load management.
Hmm.
So I feel like they'll seal the division. I think that final game of the season against the Commanders will be for the 1 or 2 seed.
Hmm.
And I think it'll still be close. I mean, I got that I have back-to-back losses, but I still feel like it'll be close.
Right.
And I feel like that game will be for the 1 or 2 seed.
Hmm.
So I have the Eagles winning against the Commanders uh at the end of the season. So
Hmm.
let's tally that up. Bears, so that's 9-3. Chargers, that's a loss. That's 9-4. Um, Raiders, that's a win. That's 10-4. Commanders and Bills, that's 2 losses. That's 10-6. And then Commanders again, that's 11. So I have them at 11-6. But again, like I said on the Fly Like an Eagles show yesterday, I feel confident that this could get to 12 wins. So I feel like there's some coin flip games, as I said. There's the Bills game, the Packers game, the Chargers game. There's a lot of coin flip games. So I'm picking them at 11-6, but I feel like they can get to 12 wins.
Hmm. Yeah. I think that's a very good asset about what the Eagles will look like, especially in these last couple months, or so, especially in these months when they're going to try to capture the division. For me though, I'm right there with you. I think the Bears one is a win. I think that's going to be a win because the Bears are still going to be fine on what their footing is. The most important thing. In regards of the Chargers game though, I think that's a win. I think that's going to be a win because more importantly than anything like that, that could be a home game for the Eagles because like that crowd could be like that place is going to be rocking it. Like I said, even though it's a away game, like LA fans never show up to competition, especially if their team is
No, they
playing well.
don't.
And I
No,
think
they
that
don't.
I think that might be like Philadelphia-esque again. Like I said, that place is going to be like 90% Eagles and 10% Chargers if there's going to be 10%.
Hey, you
Um,
can't spell Phila without LA.
true that, true that. So the Raiders one, you know, that might be the game they captured the division too. I think that could be the game that they captured that NFC East because, like, the thing that I like about it too is that could be the game to see, like, if the Eagles win that division. Last time I checked, I think it was in 2017. I think they captured the number one seed against the Raiders on Christmas night in 2017.
Yeah.
So I'm if I'm not mistaken about that,
Yep.
maybe. So that's going to be like kind of like deja vu all over again to see the Raiders like, oh god, we got to see another celebration with the Eagles. I mean, it's not John Gruden, God forbid, or and it was not, and I forget who their coach was back in the day too, but that's beside the point. So I see the Eagles win that one, and I see in regards of the Commanders, Bills, and Washington again. I agree. You basically said it best there, Joe. I think that's going to be a load management game to get them ready for the playoffs. I mean, that Commanders game, it could mean something for the Commanders to try to get into the postseason, but I don't think it's going to mean anything for the Eagles.
Yeah.
That Bills game, I don't think we're going to probably see Josh Allen. We'll probably see like a Mitch Trubisky or whoever their backup quarterback is. And I think the Bills will probably win that division. I mean, obviously they'll win that division, but they'll be like trying to win that second or third seed, depending on what the Chiefs do, and depending on what the Ravens do in the process too. So that's
Yeah.
gonna be probably a win for them. I mean, I say that the other thing too is that they'll be getting ready for the postseason for that too. So I see um I see that as a loss, but loss in a good way because they don't need these games. And the third Commanders game, that's where the Eagles like when they're winning other games. So I guess that's I forget what my total is if you can rephrase my memory here.
I think you're about around 12 or 13 wins. So,
Okay, so I
yeah.
say 13-4. Okay,
Yeah.
so okay.
So, I mean, that's the thing is for me, I feel like this is a tough schedule, but a
Mhm.
very doable schedule in the sense that, like I said, with some of the coin flip games, it could go either way. And if the Eagles take more than half of those coin flip games and they win, then it changes the landscape of what the Eagles can do for the foreseeable future. But
Right.
before we move on to our next topic, I wanted to say to Mitch and to everyone out there, if you want to get your hands on any tickets for any game on this schedule, whether it's home or away, we have a great sponsor to hook you up with discounted game tickets. Tell them more about it, James.
Yeah, Joe, today's show is sponsored by our friends over at GameTime.co. GameTime.co is a proud sponsor to our Philadelphia Eagles and all the Philly sports teams. Don't worry right now for all the Philly sports fans like Mitch Kopsky trying to get tickets for that game coming up on September the 4th. GameTime.co's got you covered. You can check out your seat view before you buy, and you can snag on great discounts and so much more at GameTime.co. But remember to scan that QR code at the bottom of your screen and score big right now at GameTime.co or visit them online at GameTime.co and go Birds.
Yeah. So let's get through a little bit of some of um the other talk that's been going on in the sports universe. The NBA draft lottery was this past week, and the Philadelphia 76ers did not win.
Hmm.
I'm not surprised, but I'm surprised of the course of action that happened in order for the team that got the first overall pick. Uh, say what you will, but I've heard the rumors, and I'm starting to believe a little bit of them that the Dallas Mavericks paid to get the lot to win the lottery.
Mm-hmm.
They only had the Dallas Mavericks only had a 1% chance of winning the number one pick. 1% chance. That is like me going and saying, okay, I'm going to go and run a mile.
Mm-hmm.
I, I can't see, but I'm going to run a mile. I have a 1% chance of running a mile.
Right.
One. And so, yeah, no. I'm sorry. It was rigged. It is what it is. Adam Silver, you should be ashamed of like putting a production on like that. Anyhow, they have the third overall pick. Past third overall picks, you had guys like Scoot Henderson, you had Evan Mobley, you had guys like R.J. Barrett. These are guys that are good, like they're good role players. They're not stars, and that worries me. And so my question to you, James, is A, are you happy that they have the third overall pick? B, do you think they'll keep it?
Uh, it's interesting because the Sixers always feel like if they always get the. I mean, I'm kind of glad that they got the third overall pick, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, okay, this is a good pick now. You can probably get Ace Bailey, but the question is though, who is making that pick? Who's making that selection with Daryl Morey. So I'm like thinking like if Daryl Morey's making that pick, he better get his priorities straight, because if he doesn't get his priorities straight, there's gonna be a lot of people gonna be
Yeah.
like, this is why we can never win with Daryl Morey. And even Mike Laurel brought it up last week, and he said it best: is that he was a stone cold idiot with all the stuff he did with the Joel Embiid process and the Paul George thing. And the most important thing about it too is that, I mean, yeah, it's good right now that they got the third pick, but I'm skeptical about if Daryl Morey is actually going to go out of his way and actually draft a real good talent like Ace Bailey.
Yeah, Ace Bailey, Harper, and this VJ Edginson uh,
Yeah.
from the Bahamas. None of them scream. I mean, they all scream RJ Barrett. They all scream Scoot Henderson. They all scream Evan Mobley like players.
Mm-hmm.
But is that going to put the Sixers over the top? It's weird.
Right.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate. And so I'm going to preface it by saying I don't think Daryl Morey is a good GM. I'm going to start with that, but then I'm going to play devil's advocate. I don't think Daryl Morey is a good GM. However, when it comes to the draft, like we always talk about how he might not be good at this, but he's good at the draft. He's good at he might not be great at the draft, but he's good at numbers. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's good at contracts.
Right.
Daryl Morey's not good with numbers. He's good with the draft.
Mm-hmm.
I look at like him with Maxey and McCain and some of the and Bona and stuff. These are quality draft picks that he picked up later in the draft. So
Mm-hmm.
he made the best of a lower draft pick. Now you have a third overall pick. You have a possibility of getting a person that's good if the draft would lined up that way.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. So I'm not sure if he stays there. I think
Mm-hmm.
that the almost standout, and because of the way that the draft lottery went, I'm not sure he can do this. But ultimately, I would try to trade with the Mavericks.
Mm-hmm.
I would try to trade with the Mavericks to go get the number one overall pick and go get Cooper Flag because he's the only one that stands out. Now, that being said, what you're going to have to give up to get that from the Mavericks is different.
Mm-hmm.
What I would do, and this might either make James happy or make him very dour. So I would trade Joel Embiid in the third overall pick to the Dallas Mavericks for the first overall pick, and maybe throw in another first or whatever. We have two
Right.
from the Clippers later on in the next year or whatever. So maybe throw another one of those. So like two first round picks, including the third overall,
Mm-hmm.
Joel Embiid for the first overall pick, and
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Davis.
Mm-hmm.
So I get where the logic will go. We're going to trade one big man that can't stay on the court for another big man that can't stay on the court. Yes, I know. I'm aware. But if you get Cooper Flag, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
To me, Cooper Flag is quintessentially in this draft the best player available.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else is just an Evan Mobley,
Mm-hmm.
a Scoot Henderson. And I get they're good, talented players, but they are not stars.
Mm-hmm.
So, I look forward to what Daryl Morey does. I know that there's another perspective that he could trade down, that he could trade back. He could trade
Mm-hmm.
back to next year and have 3 first round picks next year. That's possible. I know the Sixers fans don't want to hear that because
Mm-hmm.
that means we would have to deal with another season of mediocrity. I get that. But, here's my thing is Daryl Morey is not the right guy for the job to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just talking about drafts, but I'm just talking about just as in general. Uh, I think that but I am also aware that he's not going to get fired
Mm-hmm.
because Joshua Harris is too worried about the Commanders that he's not even paying attention to the Sixers.
Carpet
It's kind of,
muncher.
it's kind of like this. It's like he's kind of over here watching the Commanders and he's paying
Mm-hmm.
all attention to the Commanders. But here are the Sixers over here in dire straits waving the white flag literally.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not even paying attention because he's got a new toy. So,
I think the
you
other
know,
thing too with Josh Harris too, if I can comprehend about what he did the last handful of months, ever since he didn't get that new arena, it's been like basically been off the gridiron. Like
pouting.
what's that?
He's pouting.
Yeah, he's yeah, exactly. That's exactly what he is. He's pouting, he's bitching and moaning and all that stuff. He didn't get what he wanted. I mean, luckily, the other thing too about Josh Harris too is that he has another team now that could be succeeding, but at the same time, I mean and it's another rival like the Devils, like he's a part owner of the Devils and he's a part owner of the Commanders. I mean, it's like uh, honestly, I'm at the point now with Josh Harris. It's just like I agree. I think he has. I mean, the Sixers have to wait. I mean, the one thing you have to do if you want to be a part of those two teams, like the Devils and the Commanders, sell the freaking team. It's
Yeah.
plain and simple. Sell the
And,
freaking team.
and here's my thing, James. You want to talk about the stadium and how that fell through. Well,
Yeah.
this guy was trying to get stadiums for, I believe, the Devils, new stadium for the Devils and a new stadium for the Commanders. Now,
Right.
I'm only aware that he's gotten approved for a new stadium for the Commanders. That's being built. It'll be open, I think I heard 2028 or 2029 season.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So, but I'm not sure if the Devils' new arena has been approved or not yet. So, this is a guy that wants his new toys to be the shiniest in the lot. But the
Sure.
problem is, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, Joshua Harris, but the Commanders haven't won a Super Bowl in over 30 years.
Right.
Okay. The Devils, James, correct me if I'm wrong. The Devils haven't won a Stanley Cup in close to 30 years.
It was 2003 the last time they
Okay.
won.
So,
So it's close to
20,
25
years.
plus years. 20
Yeah,
close to
20.
25 years. Yeah.
Right. All right. So they're a little closer, but still, that's significant. And then you have the 76ers who haven't won one in over 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is the part that you are missing out on. This is the part of your brain that has dropped off the center of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to build these new arenas and sell them out
Mm-hmm.
with teams and franchises that don't have, and I'll quote Nick Sirianni, core values. The Philadelphia Eagles, the reason why they're successful is they've never changed their culture in the last 20 years since
Right.
Jeffrey Lurie's come. Jeffrey Lurie's like, this is how we're gonna be as an Eagles franchise. This is what we're gonna cherish and what we're gonna hold high.
Mm-hmm.
John Middleton is the same way. Like they put players first. They put fans first.
Right.
They put those two entities as top priority over an arena or a stadium or their purse or whatever. Like that's the part of it where it just frustrates, I think, a lot of Sixers fans. But
I agree.
let's get to the other team that also plays in that arena. Is it officially now the Xfinity Mobile Boost or whatever arena? Like, is it officially that, or is that not official yet?
I think it is official. I think coming up in September they'll change the name to Xfinity Mobile Arena.
Oh, good grief! Uh,
Yeah, I know, dude. I know.
listen. Here's how old I am. I remember when it was the Core States Arena. I
Yeah.
remember when it was the Wachovia Arena.
First Union too. First Union was
First
too.
Union too. Yep, and we used to call it something else with
The
that.
FU
But
Center.
yep, the FU Center. But anyhow,
Yeah, a friend of mine, Robbie Ellis, brought that up too. I remember it was called the FU Center. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot it was called
yeah.
that too. Oh my
So
god.
so the Philadelphia Flyers
Yeah.
have made news this week by I think it was yesterday actually introducing their new coach, Rick Tocchet, former
Hmm.
Flyer Rick Tocchet. Now, James, you are the NHL and Philadelphia Flyer aficionado on
Sure.
this
Sure.
show, on this
Yeah.
network, all
Hmm.
of it. Um, what do you think about this signing?
I thought about this a lot as the week went on, and I said to myself, okay, here's the thing that I need to know. Does this move them? Does this move them one step closer to a Stanley Cup contender in the next couple years or so? It does, probably, to an extent, though. I mean, the only difference I have the problem is, I looked at his resume and I said, like, okay, he has a good track record when when he's early on in his tenure, he actually knows how to succeed. The problem is that could he sustain that for a few years to try to get them to where they are? I don't know if this does, Joe. I mean, it's not one of the guys that I would rather brought in. I mean, there's a lot of good. I mean, look, everybody says like this is what I mean, Taka was actually a need that the Flyers had to bring because especially what they were looking for, obviously, and obviously Tortorella didn't go the way expected, and still trying to find like someone that in that firepower of like a Tortorella or like a Laviolette that will try to like boost the team a little bit. I mean, it's good for now. But the question is, if it's good for now, is it going to sustain the level of consistency of trying to be? I mean, the problem is you're trying. I mean, the Flyers this year were so okay. Well, I won't say good. They were good, but they were not. Oh, they were not like great. The good
Right.
thing you got to get to the capability. They were just okay, and
They
sometimes
were a
like that.
lot of peaks and valleys.
Sure, yeah. And like, okay, I won't say they were good. I mean, Mitchkov was great. I mean, that to me was probably the one thing that's a positive to go into the next season. But just okay is not going to do it. I
Yeah.
mean, especially what you're going to try to do with this team. The thing I was really curious to hear about too. I didn't see his press conference yesterday. If did you by any chance see
I
it?
did not, but the question I have for you
Mm-hmm.
with in regard to Tocchet.
Mm-hmm.
So you remember him coaching in other teams. Has he
Yeah.
ever had a winning team? Like we know what Tortorella's resume looked like as far as when he took Columbus far and whatnot. Like we
Yeah.
know he's had success, Tortorella. But
Yeah.
like, has Tocchet had success as a coach in the NHL?
He has one good year. He has one. Vancouver's a good example of that. They had a very good year either last year or the year before that.
Mhm.
And I think I don't know if the team was starting to like go into another direction or they was just starting to tune them out. But the question I have to ask this too is that like if you bring this team to the capability of what you want to bring to the table, especially what Taka wants to do. Does in a couple years from now, or even next year, like do they make that push to the Stanley Cup playoffs and try to make a big Stanley Cup playoff push, but be like a seventh or an eighth seed or one of
Right.
those wild cards to see what they'll look like, and that's what it has to come down to, Joe, because the team has to find that that fire again. And mind you, this week was 15 years ago that the Flyers made a historical comeback against Boston, and it doesn't even feel like it's been 15 years
Yeah.
because it feels like it's been an eternity for the last 10 years.
Yeah. It's been a long enough drought. The idea that, the one thing I can say about Taka, he's a passionate guy. Like, he was a passionate player. He's a
For
passionate
sure.
coach. He's just a passionate guy. And, like, maybe, I mean, you think about that building right now.
Mm-hmm.
You got Keith Jones, Danny Briere, John Leclerc, and now Rick Tocchet.
Right.
You got a lot of former Flyers that know and have been around success.
Right.
Like, success, you talk about the 2010 Flyers, you talk about other Flyers prior to that, playoff team playoff teams that they've had in the past. You're talking about a lot of those guys that are now in charge of the Flyers.
Mm-hmm.
They know what winning hockey looks like. Like, whether they're a player or whether they're, in other roles now, they know what winning hockey looks like. It's what you said. Can they get that to translate on the ice to these youngsters
Right.
in a consistent manner? Look, my next question, and you kind of already answered it, was, do you believe that this team could be a playoff contender next year? I feel like they can be, because I felt like they could have been this year. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like you said, there was a lot of peaks and valleys. When you have more valleys than peaks,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be looking up, and you're not going to be in a good position. And
Yeah.
the Flyers found themselves that way for a good portion of the season. And so, for me, I would hope that with all the people, all the voices in that area, that they start to pay attention.
Right.
Um, Now, I will be honest, I would not hate if you brought more former Flyers
Hmm.
that were on winning teams.
Yeah.
Not going so far as to be like, uh, you
Chemo team
know,
in it, like
right. I
someone in
would
that.
say, like, if it's a guy like Mark Recchi, or a guy like Robert Brendamore. And I know Rob is a coach, so I
Sure.
get it. He's not going to take an assistant coach role. I get that. But I'm talking about guys of that ilk, like the people, Michael Rumberg, like uh, former players that can kind of implement how they played the game to
Right.
these youngsters who, I mean, I got done having a conversation. It was my former coach that I had when I played for the Ed Snyder Youth Hockey League,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a birthday, and I messaged him on Facebook wishing him a happy birthday, and I said to him, like, we got into a conversation. He messaged me back, and we got into a conversation about the Flyers and about, he's over in Anaheim working for the Ducks.
Right.
And so, the idea that you know, he was saying that the Flyers now, the players now don't play with the same sense of urgency that other players used to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when you don't play with that amount of urgency, you lose a little bit of your edge.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll see if Taka can put the edge back in the Flyers.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It'll be interesting.
if you want to get your hands on Flyers gear, Sixers gear, like whoever the Flyers draft, between the Flyers and the Sixers, there's going to be a lot of drafting. There's going to be a lot of influx of new talent, which means there's going to be a lot of influx of new jerseys. If you want to get your hand on the new jerseys for the new player, go to our friends at Rally House. James, tell them more about it.
Yeah, Joe. Today's show is also sponsored by our friends over at RallyHouse.com. Hey, Philly fanatics, Rally House is your destination for all things Philadelphia sports merchandise, like we mentioned. From jerseys to hats, we got everything that you need and get you ready for get ready for Philly season, Flyers season, like we were talking about, Eagles season, and even Sixers season if you want to get that and all that stuff too, and all that in style. But now you can pick up your gear and get it delivered fast by using scanning that QR code and score big right now at rallyhouse.com. And it's a proud sponsor to our Philadelphia Phillies. If you didn't see the scan of the QR code of Bryce Harper, and a proud sponsor as to the Philadelphia Phillies is rallyhouse.com, or visit them online at rallyhouse.com. That's at rallyhouse.com today.
So let's dive into those Philadelphia Phillies and the
Gladly.
idea that there have been like some problems with some players on this team. So we're going to dive into a little bit of the problems, and then we're going to dive into a little bit of the success. So it came down, I believe it was yesterday, because we kind of broke the news on Fly Like an Eagle about Aaron Nola going on the 15-day DL or IL. So here the report is that he has a sore left ankle. And that it's been hurting him since the Cleveland series, and he's just been kind of grunting through it.
Right.
Here's my thing, James. You could say what you want. It's not a real injury. I mean, he was laboring his last start. I agree with that. So maybe he does have a little bit of soreness in his ankle, but the Phillies need an excuse to give him some time off. So he's going to skip 2 starts, and it's what I said last night at Fly Like an Eagle. He's going to skip 2 starts. The next start's going to be Nick Abel. That's going to go against Paul Skeens on Sunday.
Good matchup.
Yeah, the kid's going to look. You want to talk about throwing the kid into the fire
or kid in the woods, and
it's like, here you go. You got to go against one of the best pitchers out there. Good luck.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
So, and then the next start that he will skip will be done by Taijuan Walker.
Right.
And so here's the thing. I got to ask, James, we can't, like, the Phillies kind of took my question. I made the show prep up on Thursday, and they kind of took my question and, like, threw it into the incinerator.
Right.
Because I was going to ask, how would you fix Aaron Nola? And that was the question I have on my sheet. The Phillies basically took my answer off the board because I was going to say, put him on the IL and have him skip 2 starts.
Right.
Well, thank you. But can you let me at least mention it on my show before you take my idea? That's all I'm asking for. Make me look a little smart rather than stupid. Anyhow.
Yeah.
What, besides the 2 starts, James?
Sure.
What would you do during this time that Aaron's got to, kind of reflect? What would you do to help Aaron Nola? Look, we know Aaron can't throw 99, 95. We know that. He's got a pitch. He's got to be a controlled pitcher, a placement pitcher.
Yeah.
What would you do to help him become stronger at that?
Well, it's interesting because you think about with Noah, it's like hit and miss sometimes with his starts. I mean, there was a game a couple weeks ago that he actually looked like he got back his groove again. I thought for sure, like when he got
Cubs game.
Yeah, the Cubs game and the Diamondbacks game too. Yeah. And there was a couple games that he looked very well in those starts. But no, I mean, the one thing that I agree with what you said about that too, like that this is actually a good thing to see. Nola like go down to not go down to the minors, like kind of like what they did with Roy Halladay. I mean, like a Brett Myers, but like get him away from the mound for a little bit just to clear his head and also to try to figure out what he has in store. More important than anything like that, I think this was a very good move to see, like to try to like get him away from that, and just because like sometimes it's kind of like when you're doing something and you're really working hard at it, but you can't find a way to try to get it down. And it's kind of like a guitar player, like, or either like a broadcaster trying to read a script, and you get really, I mean, like I agree. Look, you know how I am when I get frustrated, man.
Yep.
But sometimes I have to take a breather and say, okay, take a breather, breathe in, breathe out, come back to it with a better mindset, and I mean, then maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what he needs to do. Is probably need to reset. Like
Yeah.
that's probably the most important thing.
Yeah, I agree because like I think it's a mental reset. I think he's been
Yeah.
pressing so hard to be what he was before. And look, this is what I'll say is like the Philly fans, the Philly, media, like they haven't. He's 1-7 with a almost above 6 ERA.
Hmm.
Like the conceivably the Phillies media and fans would rip any other pitcher apart.
Agreed.
God knows that was Taiwan Walker's numbers. Like we'd be like, please just get rid of him,
Yeah.
like screaming it from the rooftops. But like with
Yeah.
Aaron Nola, we know that Aaron Nola is a better player than this. Like we
Hmm.
know that. He knows that. But he's not getting the results he wants. And sometimes when you don't get the results you want, you just keep hammering it and hammering it and hammering it. And like you said, you're still not getting the results you want. You
Right.
have to take a step back and get a clear mind.
Yep.
And you kind of have to deal with things like, okay, I'm still a good pitcher. There's nothing wrong with me.
Hmm.
I just have to work on my mechanics.
Yeah.
I don't need to pitch perfectly. Look, you don't. You have, look, your teammates are picking you up. And I
Right.
mean that literally because look at what Wheeler's doing. Look at what Luzardo's doing. Look at what
Yeah.
Sanchez is doing. Ranger's starting to do it. Tywin's even starting to do it. Like there is a lot of help to support you.
Yeah.
That's not to say we want you to suck.
Right.
It's to say that you shouldn't feel like you have to have the pressure and the weight of the Philadelphia sports world on your shoulders.
Right.
Just let it fly, dude. Like if you get, I don't care if you get 50 home runs, if you get like, I care, but like the idea that if you can just settle down and not worry about the home run ball,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
he got like the last start, James. I was watching it. This guy was 0-2 to like 10 batters.
Yeah.
0-2 count to 10 batters, and he still got rocked.
I know.
It's like, okay, do you know how many pitchers would kill for having an 0-2 count to 10 batters? Like they would just be like, okay, just now you have 4 pitches to make that guy chase,
Right.
and you don't need to be aggressive.
Yep.
And I think he just needs to take a step back. And I look at the Phillies have been good for this. You brought up Roy Halladay. You brought up Brett Myers. I'll bring up another one, Jose Alvarado back in the day.
That's
The
true.
idea, and Sir Anthony Dominguez is another one. The back in the day where this team would take these pitchers and give them a mental reset,
Hmm.
and that pitcher would then come back and light the world on fire
Right.
because whatever happened, made them better.
That's true.
So I feel like that's what needs to happen with this time. You got 15 days, you got 2 weeks. Get right. That's all you need to do. It's a long season. Just get right.
Hmm.
Um, the next guy we need to get right is MV3,
Yep.
Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper's batting at a sub 240 batting average.
Right.
This guy's struggling. And he's struggling and he knows it. But much like Aaron Nola, I think he's trying to put the cape on. Like he's trying to be the hero. And, this is the thing. If we're going to compare it to like Jalen Hurts and the Eagles,
Hmm.
there was a part in 2023 when they went into that skid that Jalen Hurts was trying to play the hero too
Hmm.
much and pressing and being the hero and putting the cape on all the time and putting that pressure on you doesn't always work out.
Right.
Playing loose and playing focused, that works out a lot more of the time.
Yeah.
So much so that you saw it in 2024 with the Eagles. With the Phillies and Bryce Harper, honestly, I think this goes for the whole team, but Bryce Harper especially. Y'all need to play a little bit looser.
Yep.
Like I'm not asking you to go out there and voluntarily lose. I'm not asking you to take all the pressure off of you and you guys don't make the playoffs. Oh, well.
Hmm.
But you guys can't think that, if we don't get it done now, everyone's going to look at it as a failure. And
Hmm.
then Bryce thinking, if I don't get it done, if I don't get this team over the finish line,
Hmm.
I'm going to be looked at as a failure.
Yeah.
So the question I have for you, James, how would you fix Bryce Harper's woes right now?
Um, I think the other thing too is it's similar to Aaron Noah. I think he's trying, like you even alluded to with Jalen Hurts too. I think he's doing too much. I think he's playing a little. I think the other thing that sticks out to me is that he wants to play hero ball sometimes. That he wants to hit that 5-1 homer and win the game in the ninth inning with 2 outs and also on a 3-2 count. The most important thing about with Harper too is that he, like, once he finds his groove, like he finally gets his footing back. I mean, last night was a good outing, was a good start to him trying to get out of that slump a little bit. That's the one thing I was really intrigued about last night. The other thing that really stuck out to me too was, yeah, Harper sometimes, like I said, has his fair share of obstacles along the way. I mean, obviously, last night hopefully was a little bit of a better outcome for him to get out of that slump and hopefully to get something into that groove again. And the other thing about what Harper is just that, yeah, like that's basically what, like I said it once, I'll say it again. It's just that hopefully after last night he starts to get out of that slump a little bit.
With Harper, uh, I'm a firm believer that this guy, once he gets hot, he's the best player in the league.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying the Phillies, I'm saying the league. Like,
Sure.
he's a guy that there's a reason why he was so coveted for us when he was a free agent.
Right.
Because this is a guy that's a game changer. And, I'm a firm believer that he'll change the game again. And speaking of changing the game, now I apologize. I did not watch the game last night.
Hmm.
But because I was out with friends. But
Hmm.
um here's the did Schwarber hit a home run last night?
He almost did.
Okay.
But he was robbed by somebody.
Okay,
He
so
had a robbed by a home run. So.
Kyle Schwarber has 15 home runs.
Mm-hmm.
He's also at a career number of 299 home runs.
Yep.
He's one home run away from 300.
Yep.
James, he's one of the best home run hitters in the league right now.
Yep.
He's up there with Aaron Judge, and Aaron Judge is like lighting the baseball world on fire.
Like he always does.
Yeah, it's like, okay, can we give him a random drug test, please?
Yeah,
Anyhow,
Judd like steroid him like he did with
yeah,
excuse me, Alex Rodriguez.
yeah, but my question to you, James, is
Mm.
Kyle Schwarber has been one of the bright spots, not just of this year for the Phillies, but since he's gotten here.
Yeah.
But this year, more especially, it's like with age comes greatness. And with Kyle Schwarber, he's not slowing down. He's
Mm-hmm.
like Brandon Graham. He's picking up.
Yeah.
Uh, my question to you is this. If you're the Phillies
Mm-hmm.
and you're Dave Dombrowski, do you re-sign Kyle Schwarber today?
Oh hell
Because
yeah.
it could save you money in the future.
Oh yeah, man. 100%. I mean, the thing that I like about Schwarber that is just out of this world. Last night I actually saw a play that he actually, I think it was when they started start to bring out the floodgates over it against the Pirates last night. He actually ran home, and actually how he ran home was like, I haven't seen Schwarber do that since he got here. I mean, last year and probably the last couple years before that, kind of looked like a beer leaguer player, like trying to run bases. That's what my dad would always say.
It's
But
like a John Kruk running. No offense, John,
yeah,
but like it's like John Kruk running the bases.
yeah, exactly right. No, but yeah, dude, you gotta sign him, man. You gotta sign him. I mean,
Now, here's my question. So you can sign him. Now he's gonna want 3 years.
yeah,
You're gonna do 3 years. You good with that?
I'm good with that. I'm
Okay.
good. You know, I'll tell you right now, if Schwarber continues to hit the baseball and continues to run the bases like he does, and continue to find a way to just get into that groove as he does, that's the most important thing too. And by the way, speaking of history, last night you talked about Schwarber trying to get home run number 300. Bryce Harper hit his 1,000th hit last night in that game last night. So it's a good way to get off the
1,000th
slump.
RBI.
1,000th RBI. There you go.
Yep.
Thank you. Yep. So that's going to be the most important thing too. And with Schwarber too, I mean, if it's 3 years, I'm good with that. I mean, I would rather sign him now before he hits that free agency market, because once you let him leave for free agency, he ain't coming back half the time. Majority of the time, those players never come back here if you wait this long.
Let me put it in this context. So Ryan Howard was a home run hitter. His tenure in the majors was not all that long in comparison.
Right.
Kyle Schwarber could exceed what Ryan Howard did, or I should say eclipse what Ryan Howard did, if we were to re-sign him, Schwarber, for 3 years. With the rest of this season, 3 more seasons, Kyle Schwarber could potentially get his 400th home run in a Phillies uniform.
He could.
Understand, put the gravity behind that. It's not a lot of people, not a lot of players out there that have 400 home runs that are in the 400 home run club. It just isn't. And so, and even just talking about a 300 home run club, that's a select clubhouse. So you got to understand, this is a guy who's not just like, hey, I'm going to hit it out of the ballpark every night. He's going to do this is a guy who also just came off of a 48-game on base streak. This is a guy that's a good clubhouse guy. He's a leader. He's good, in the community. He's just a good all-around dude to have in the clubhouse. And John Crux said it best. You're not politicking, and I'm not either. But what I'm getting at is he should be a Philly for the remainder. There's certain players that should be Phillies for the remainder of their contract, the remainder of their career. Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber.
Yep.
If that's where our core is and we build around that, that's a really good core. That's a really good core.
Yep. Raheem checks in and says, "What's up to us?" Good morning, Raheem. Go Birds, and also thanks for chiming in, buddy. I appreciate it. That's the other thing too, man. And the craziest part about Schwarber is he continues to gets better every single game. Yeah. Every game he gets better on all. He phases on all cylinders, man. That's the most important thing too.
Well, you know what Kyle Schwarber does to the baseball, James? He golfs it out of the ballpark. You know what it is? It's golf season. You know what you need? You need golf equipment. You need golf polos.
Good segue.
You need everything golf. You know where you can get it? PGA Tour Superstore. Tell them more about it, James.
Yeah, Joe, today's show is also sponsored by our friends over at PGA Tour Superstore.com. Don't miss out on exclusive opportunities to get your hands on premium golf equipment, including hats, golf clubs, golf tees, and so much more at PGA Tour Superstore.com. But remember to scan that QR code at the bottom of your screen, and also last week, actually, the Truist Championship was in Philadelphia, so you can also look forward to, if you want to hang out and also have some tea time with your buddies of yours, and also that too. Scan that QR code at the bottom of your screen, like I said, and also visit them online at PGATourSuperstore.com. That's at PGATourSuperstore.com today.
And remember,
it's in the hole.
You should go golf and practice now. Because in a year, I believe it's a year, the U.S. Open will be here.
Nice.
For PGA. So, you got a lot of professional golf going in and around Philadelphia in the next couple of years. So,
excellent.
Go get your gear today. Go get what the pros use. Go to PGATourSuperstore.com.
2026 is going to be a fire year, man. You got the PGA Tour, the MLB All-Star Game. If the Eagles win another Super Bowl, man, that could be a very exciting 2026, my brother.
The World Cup, part of the World Cup.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, that's true.
So next we're gonna like show you guys an interview me and James did um, with a great company called OneCourt. As many of you might know or may not know, about 3 years ago I lost my sight,
Mm-hmm.
and I have when I had sight, I still always had a vision issue, but not too bad. When I lost my sight, I had to reinvent how I A did this show, B listen to sports and kind of absorb it, take in the experience. It was difficult, it was challenging, and
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying to raise money and get some assistive technology to aid me with day-to-day independent living. The interview we did was a company called OneCourt. OneCourt is an excellent device that hasn't even hit the market yet, but will in 2026. This is going to help people that are blind and visually impaired go to live sporting events or even enjoy a live sporting event from home by using a tablet that's going to be able to give them real time information and real time play by play kind of thing by feeling on a tactile tablet.
Wow.
We interviewed Bree and Simon from OneCourt, and it was a great interview, and we hope you enjoy it. And we also hope it raises awareness to what possibilities are, not just for technology, but for people that are blind and low vision, and what is possible for live sporting events and enjoying those. Sports should be for all. Fans come in all shapes, size, and colors, and blind and low vision are no different than anybody else. So I hope you enjoy this interview from OneCourt. Welcome in, Philadelphia, and we have a great treat for you today. I want to talk to you guys about this great device that's going to help change how viewing sports as a blind or visually impaired person in live sporting events or at home will change the landscape. The device, OneCourt. And I have Bree Razor and Simon from OneCourt with us today to talk a little bit about the OneCourt device and where it's available, what it can do, and why you want to get your hands on it. So first off, good morning, Bree and Simon.
Thanks so much for having us, Joe.
Yeah, excited to be on.
So I'm first going to ask, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and what got you guys into OneCourt, like what got you involved in the OneCourt device. Simon, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so I had been friends with one of the co-founders in Thuche for a while, and one night in sort of our dining area, he pitched this idea that he was working on and was curious if I had any interest working on it. And I'd grown up playing sports. I'm a huge sports fan. For me, soccer is my go-to. Big Man United supporter. Grew up playing soccer, but also baseball. Of course, pick up basketball for fun, even though I'm definitely not the best at it. But staying active through sports has always been a big part of my life. So any opportunity to work sort of in that industry, I was super excited about. And then, with OneCourt's mission, sort of extending that to people who may not have access to it now was definitely something that called to me. So when he sort of pitched the idea, it was before it was an official company. So I joined on then and haven't looked back since. It's been almost over 2.5 years, which is crazy for me. But yeah, that's sort of a little bit about me and how I joined OneCourt.
Bree, how about you?
Mm-hmm. So I learned about OneCourt just over a year ago. I had moved down from Vancouver, BC to Seattle to go back to school at the University of Washington. And I had learned about OneCourt actually through the university's entrepreneurship center. So OneCourt had competed in a number of student competitions to expand the idea, to grow the idea, and to receive some funding. And so I had learned about them by researching what startups are in the area. And I felt like the perfect opportunity had fallen from the sky, because my background lies in sport. So I'd worked in the sports system back in Canada, particularly with Olympic female athletes in volleyball. And then I was studying technology management at the University of Washington. So it brought in that technology piece. And in prior roles, a lot of my work had revolved around building community and improving access on programs. And so those three worlds coming together for a purpose like OneCourt to make live sports accessible to all felt a little too perfect. So I had actually just reached out to the same co-founder that brought Simon in, and I had said, "Hey, I'm really excited about what you're doing. Super passionate. Is there any way for me to get involved and contribute to the mission?" And then a year and a bit later, I'm here.
So we'll stay with you, Bree, and can you tell our audience what is OneCourt exactly? Can you give a brief description of what the OneCourt device is and what it can do?
Yeah, absolutely. So at OneCourt, we are translating live gameplay into trackable vibrations. So we're able to take the ball position, the player positions, and what's happening on the court or field, and translate that into haptic vibrations on the surface of our device. So we're not only creating the hardware, so the actual device itself, but the software as well that's translating that gameplay. And so we're accessing live data feeds from professional leagues like the NBA for basketball or MLB for baseball. And we're able to take what's happening on the field that's captured through cameras or computer vision and translate that in less than a second on the surface of our device. So it's pretty incredible how real time the experience is. And the device itself, we describe it as a tactile tablet or a haptic tablet. So it's about 13 by 7 inches. So pretty similar to your standard tablet, but it's a little bit thicker at 2 inches thick. And so fans will place their hands on the surface of the device, and underneath they'll feel a tactile map or a tactile interface, and it changes for every court or sport. So the football field is going to feel different than the baseball diamond, and those are raised outlines on a tacky surface. So it's a little bit sticky, a little bit tacky. It's made of silicone, but we chose that material because it makes the vibrations that are happening underneath a lot easier to feel and a lot more specific. So rather than your cell phone vibrating because you get a text message and your whole cell phone vibrates, the OneCourt device is really specific about where the vibrations are being felt on the surface, so that a fan knows exactly where the ball is or exactly where the play is.
So I want to just, before I ask my next question, I wanted to just let our audience know, if for people in Philadelphia, if you remember last year during the Home Run Derby and the All-Star break, when we were rooting on Alec Baum to win, this is when OneCourt was kind of brought to my attention. And OneCourt, was kind of innovative in my mind. As a person who had sight at one point but loved watching sports and has lost his sight about a little bit more than 3 years ago, being able to still maybe regain some of the information that I had previously enjoyed, taking in when watching a game is so important. And I felt like OneCourt was kind of like a game changer. And so they debuted on a national stage during the MLB All-Star break. So that had to be huge for you guys. Simon, what has been the relationship with the MLB, and what was that whole experience of getting that promotion going for the All-Star break last year?
Yeah, I mean, it was an amazing experience for us. The All-Star game was fantastic. A lot of hard work and late nights leading up to it, but it went well. So that initially actually started out with a T-Mobile relationship. That sort of moment was T-Mobile's Magenta moment, and T-Mobile has a relationship with the MLB, and then we're actually working out of T-Mobile's 5G hub, which sort of allows us to have a working space and access to their engineers as we look to sort of incorporate 5G in our device. So T-Mobile saw a fantastic opportunity to demonstrate the wonderful capabilities of 5G, and decided to bring us in to connect with the MLB. So, going from there, we got access to the data. We built out sort of our haptic effects, as well, with sort of that interface. So we could display like the strike zone, so users could understand if it was a left-handed or right-handed batter, if it was a pitch, was a ball or a strike, where it was in the strike zone. Then obviously, where the ball was going once it was hit. So it was a great time. It was fantastic. It was so cool to see. Actually, during the filming of that ad, they had big screens in front of us, so the individuals who were sighted couldn't actually see what was happening on the field because they needed the screens for lighting. So we relied on the users who were using the OneCourt device to tell us what was happening in the game, and it was a really awesome moment.
That is very cool. Can you, Simon, can you talk a little bit more about haptic technology for those people out there that may not know? And I know there are some people out there that probably think we're speaking Greek. So, can you explain a little bit about what haptic technology is?
Yeah, definitely. So haptics is essentially vibrations. So similar to how Bree put it, you have haptics in your phone, and that's different effects. Like, I know the difference between a call versus a text, right? A call, I'll get multiple vibrations. A text, I'll just get one. Or even, if you're playing a game on your phone, there'll be little effects where your phone buzzes. That's essentially what haptics is. So usually your phones will have one haptic motor. The OneCourt device has hundreds. So we're really able to get into sort of specifics, in terms of location, as well as different effects by, differing the pattern, intensity, or duration of the vibration. We're able to communicate different things. But yeah, essentially haptics is just that sort of vibration motor, that you feel when you get a text.
Yeah, I have been using some AI accessible tools like the WeWalk and other things. And the WeWalk uses haptic technology as well. And, at first when I heard of haptic technology, I was like, wait, what? And so, but then someone actually reminded me, much like you, Simon, that haptic technologies are actually been around a lot longer than you think through the cell phone use and other things. So it's good to finally kind of harness that kind of technology and implement it in a device like OneCourt. So my next question to you, Bree, is this. Can you give an explanation a little bit for our audience where the inspiration for OneCourt came from?
So one of our co-founders, Jared, he sparked this idea for OneCourt. And he had actually watched a video of a blind soccer fan enjoying a game with a sighted individual tracing his hands on the surface of a game board. I think it's often referred to as tactile signing. So using a tactile board and moving hands along it to understand the live soccer play. And so Jared had thought, wow, like this is a fantastic dimension to experience sport through touch. But he also noticed that the experience wasn't independent. The fan was requiring someone else to be sitting with him and tracing his hands along. And so Jared really wanted to use technology to make this experience independent and intuitive and ultimately fun, like as live as possible, so that when the whole crowd cheers, a fan using OneCourt knows exactly what just happened and can cheer as well. So that was the initial inspiration. He had worked on it, I want to say, for anywhere from 3 to 6 months on his own, and tinkered with different ideas. Were we going to use haptic motors? Were we going to use other technology? And settled on haptics as a really intuitive way to understand spatial details, like where a ball might be on a court. But he quickly realized that he needed a team to be able to build this, and he wasn't going to be able to do it on his own. He's an industrial designer by trade. So he was thinking about the device and the interaction of the user in the device, but he wanted to bring on folks in software, in hardware, in business, hence where Simon comes in, and to really bring this from an idea to a product to eventually a company. OneCourt just had our 2-year anniversary of being incorporated as a company. So it's pretty incredible to see from 2021, when Jared first thought of this idea, to now where it's come.
Yeah, speaking from a blind person who has gone to a sports bar or two with a sighted friend, when you're listening to the radio and you're trying to, keep up with the sporting event, sometimes the radio is about 30 seconds to a minute delayed. And so you're hearing the bar cheer, but you have no idea what had happened, but that something is about to happen. So that is kind of amazing in that perspective. Simon, can you talk about a little bit about how this kind of device will be available for people that are blind and visually impaired, both now and going forward?
Yeah, so right now we actually just wrapped up our NBA season. We were activated with 5 teams in the NBA. It was fantastic. It was great to see for us to start to, be able to spread this technology around the league. Going forward, we're looking to get into baseball for this season currently, which is super exciting. And then going forward for us, our real goal is to bring this at home. Our mission is to make live sports more accessible, and it's, for me at least, I watch most of the sports from my couch. It's hard to get off that couch on a Sunday, So if we're able to bring this experience to people at home, that's really our goal. Yeah. And then,
So,
Bree, did you have anything to? Sorry, I was
go
just
ahead,
going to ask
Bree.
if Bree, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think the only thing to add is, Joe, you mentioned the sports bar. And I think when we talk about the at-home experience, we're thinking about anywhere that's not the venue. So we're thinking about your friend's house, your house. We're thinking about your favorite sports bar. The idea is that you could take this device anywhere with you and experience the game at whatever broadcast, your friends or family might be watching or listening to as well. So we can sync up to that experience so that you're right in tandem with them. Exactly that experience you described at the sports bar. So we've done some early testing with that sports watch party model, and it's been a lot of fun to bring not just blind and low vision fans, but their loved ones into the mix as well.
Yeah, because I could tell, like, my friend, he enjoyed going to sporting events with me when I had sight, and now it's different. It's a different experience now that I don't, and I still have kind of pivoted what that means to be a sports fan. And he is a person that sees it as, okay, he should enjoy it just as much as I am. And when he's kind of getting a gist of the game, whether there's booze raining down in the bar or cheers, he kind of knows what's going to happen before it happens in his feed. So that's amazing. Simon, can you talk a little bit? You brought up about 5 NBA teams. Can you talk a little bit about where OneCourt is as far as availability, like what teams have it, what are and what leagues have it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for last year, we had the Portland Trailblazers, which is actually the closest NBA team to us in Seattle. It's where we started. We actually did a testing with them initially the season prior. So we were down there. We were down in LA at the Clippers venue for their last couple games of the season, which was fantastic. We were over in Brooklyn with the Nets. We were down in Sacramento with the Kings, and Phoenix with the Suns.
And what leagues is it just basketball, or are you guys involved in other leagues too?
Yeah, so right now we have agreement to use the NBA's data, which is why we're in the NBA, and we're currently working on getting basketball or baseball as well for this season. But it definitely doesn't stop there. Of course, our sights are set on the NFL, NHL, any professional league around. I would love if we could get the Prem, but really just being able to provide this in any sports venue is our goal.
So, that being said, I'm going to say something to Bree and Simon that they may or may not know. But it was an announcement that was made about a month ago that the American Council for the Blind and the NFL have partnered up to make the NFL experience more accessible for people that are blind and visually impaired. Now, they didn't go into details, but Brie, I'll ask you as a person that reaches out to many of these organizations and whatnot. What does that relationship between, or potential budding relationship between the American Council for the Blind and the NFL, what does that do as far as opening up possibilities for OneCourt for the NFL?
It's huge. I mean, national organizations like ACB do a phenomenal job of advocacy. I mean, there's many things that ACB and other organizations do, but advocacy is a strong point. And I think we, from the beginning, have wanted to align ourselves and support the advocacy work that's happening across the country and beyond, because we believe access is a right. Like, access to live sports should be a standard. And so that's why we want devices in every venue. And so to see that type of partnership at the league level with an organization as large as ACB is super encouraging. Just following that announcement, we were invited to speak at a sports and entertainment panel that ACB is running later in June in prep for their national convention that'll happen in July. And so I'm really grateful that ACB sees us as a partner and someone that's pushing the game forward, and we want to contribute to that same mission. And so, though I don't know yet the details of the projects that they're working on, I'm excited to see where it goes, and I would love for it to be in all aspects of the experience, everything from descriptive audio to haptics to just the broader fan experience. I've heard from so many fans that OneCourt solves a real pain point of once a fan sits in their seat and can experience the game. But there's so many other parts of the live experience that can have friction or be challenging or frustrating. Everything from buying your ticket to getting to the venue to finding your seat. Like, there's so many little moments in between. And I think the more and more we've been activating live in venue, I've started to realize how many little moments of friction there can be. So I'd love to also work on those pieces as well. And every team we've worked with in the NBA has wanted to continue to increase that fan experience, which has been really encouraging.
Yeah, it is very encouraging. And, especially when you say that there's so much more to the live experience. I even think about like with Citizens Bank Ballpark here in Philadelphia, and the fact that there are so many different things you can do around the ballpark, and being able to have that live experience just in the ballpark itself, and being able to, enjoy the game itself. The idea that it gives a little bit more of okay, I can take the family to the game and still enjoy myself. I can pay that amount of money and invest that amount of money and still enjoy myself. So that is a huge, huge deal. And just as a tidbit for those people out there that watch me and James frequently, me and James will be starting, as Bree had described, mentioned that me and James are going to be starting a project called Sports Audio Description. And we're hoping to be able to do live audio description for people that are visually impaired or blind during live sporting events. And so, that, like Bree said, like that kind of goes hand in hand with the live experience of live sports.
100%.
So go ahead, Bree.
I completely agree with it going hand in hand. And there's something a fan said to me the other day that really stuck with me. They said, it's one thing for me to attend a game, and it's another thing for me to feel included in the game or included in that experience. And there's I think currently a gap between attending and feeling like someone belongs in that environment. And so I think any step towards increasing that access is incredible.
All right, so Simon, for my next question, I get really into brass tacks, and I think this might be in your wheelhouse. But the big bold question people want to know out there: how much is OneCourt going to cost them?
hmm it's a great question, and right now we're still working on our sort of B2B model, as we call it, which is selling to sports teams and leagues. Especially as we start to hone in on what the device, our product offering is going to be, and how we can incorporate it. Like even from last year, we added interaction. Now it has buttons and tutorials. So we're still pinpointing down exactly what we're going to offer to people at home. So for us, it's going to really come down to keeping up with more research, making sure that we're talking with fans and sports teams, and being able to produce something that is affordable and is able to come in and do exactly what we want it to do, right? Make live sports enjoyable. So right now, for the direct to consumer option, we don't have a specific price point pinned down. We're still doing a lot of research, not only just as to what's affordable, but also what we can provide for users. So there's a lot more work to do, Joe, and you're exactly right. It is in my wheelhouse. That is something I'm working on every day to figure out.
So I would like to know, either Simon or Bree can answer this. But what would be the difference for a person out there now? OneCourt will be available. The goal is for OneCourt to be available at the stadiums for people that are blind or low vision to use. But there's the option of being able to have a home device, like Bria mentioned earlier. So, my question is, what really will be the difference? Will there be like a more of a lag come when from the home edition in difference to the live one, to the in stadium one? Like, what is there a difference? Is someone going to lose a bit of quality within their experience from the home to the in stadium one?
Yeah, the physical device shouldn't look too different. It'll be sort of in the functionality and internals. So when we think about, they're two fundamentally different experiences. One, you prioritize getting the information as fast as humanly possible right away. At home, the TV is already delayed 30 seconds up to a minute. So you want the ability to sort of sync, is what we like to call it. So synchronize your device with what's happening on the TV. And I don't know, we've all been to a bar where, I don't know, one of the TVs outside is 10 seconds ahead of the TV inside. And, so we want to make sure that the user has the ability to set that themselves, because we know, with TV broadcasts, there can be a little bit of wiggle room. So there's that. And then there's also the connectivity piece. At a stadium, when you're prioritizing speed, it's really important to have great connection, and that can come through either 5G or Wi-Fi. So those devices will be 5G and Wi-Fi enabled and be using the best connection possible to reduce latency. When you're at home, the latency becomes less of an issue because you're already operating with that delay. And the users at home might not want to pay additional money to have cellular connection to a device that they could just have Wi-Fi for.
Right.
So the fundamental differences our goal isn't necessarily to reduce quality. It's just to cater them to the environments that they're operating in. Anything to add there, Bree?
No, that's great.
So, one of the next questions I have is for you, Bree. So how can people out there that are listening get in touch with OneCourt or help OneCourt's mission to get to where it wants to go?
Mm-hmm. The best way to get in touch with us is through our website. I think that's how you found us, Joe, after All-Star Week. So our website is onecourt.io. So onecourt.io. And on our website, we have information about the device. We'll update what teams we're going to be at for the upcoming sports seasons. and it gives fans the option to join our newsletter or waitlist. And so our newsletter, you'll get regular updates from us on what we're up to, kind of like a curtain behind the scenes. We're pretty candid in our newsletters with fans to keep them up to date. And then the waitlist is really a fan's opportunity to say, hey, I'm really excited about this technology. When you launch at home, I want to be the first to have that device. From that waitlist pool, we invite fans to games when we get tickets, so that live experience. But also we're going to launch our pre-order. And so that will give fans the opportunity to place that order, that spot to get that device. And so we have some big goals on that waitlist number. We as a startup, we set big goals, we work towards them. And so for us, when we show a big waitlist number, that shows that there's community demand for the device. And so we share that waitlist number. We might go to a team that we want to launch with in Philly and say, hey, we have X number of fans from Philly that want this device. There is fan demand. Let's bring devices to your venue. And every team we've done that with has been a huge success. That's why we launched in Phoenix. That's why we launched in Sacramento, because there was community demand. So that's the best way to help us. And then tell friends and family, sighted, blind, low vision, visually impaired. We just want to get the word out that we exist, and our mission is to make live sports accessible. And I think anyone who hears that mission gets behind it.
Absolutely. And I'm on that wait list. So believe me, I'm excited for what OneCourt can bring to that live sporting experience, and how it can enhance like someone like myself who does a sports podcast, and being able to interact with the game a little bit more detailed. So that is a very exciting situation. Well, to conclude, I'm going to ask this question to both of you, and I'll start with you, Simon, and then I'll follow up with you, Bree. What is next for OneCourt in your mind? Like, what do you think is on the horizon that we can all kind of look forward to as fans of OneCourt?
Yeah, for us, the next thing to do is spread across these major sports leagues in the U.S. and hopefully globally. So in these upcoming months, we're focusing on baseball, and for me, selfishly, I would love soccer to be right after that. There's obviously the World Cup coming in 2026, so it'd be amazing to be able to provide some sort of experience for that. But for us, yeah, I mean, upcoming, hopefully you can look forward to OneCourt coming to a stadium or arena near you, regardless of your preferred sport, whether it's basketball, baseball, hockey, football. So those are our immediate goals. And then, going from there, like we mentioned, get it OneCourt on the couch at your home, so those are our immediate goals that we can working towards every day. Bree, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, that's a great summary. I think what's next for us and what I'm so excited for is just for more hands on device, more fans to feel it, because Simon and I can sit here and chat with you both and everyone listening about the value of the device or describe it, but like until you feel it, like there's something pretty magical when you get your hands on it and you're synced up to the live experience. And so as we grow, that just means more opportunities for hands-on device. So we have some trips coming up. We're traveling to different cities to do demos and watch parties and attend conferences, and any opportunity we get for fans to try it before even they get to a live venue or before we get to at home. So I think even though we have those big goals of the venue and of the at home, there's going to be other ways as well to try it. And if there's opportunities, people want us to come out to their city, let us know.
So what are some of the upcoming cities you will be coming through?
So this weekend, I'm going to be in Vancouver, Washington, not too far from where we are in Seattle, at one of the state conventions. And then coming up, we have the national conventions in July, which are a little bit far out. So ACB and NFB are on our horizon. We boothed at the NFB National Convention last year. And then in between there, we're hoping to do some watch parties related to NBA. There's Summer League coming up in the summer for NBA. Of course, MLB. There's multiple teams that we're in discussion with right now to be in their venue.
153465243.
Sorry.
Double tap to answer. Button.
Okay.
Call.
Yeah, so those cities and those teams are still being confirmed. But I have a list of events, and Simon and I literally this week we're trying to narrow it down on where we can go and when, because there's only so many of us and so many opportunities.
Well, it sounds amazing. And again, I hope that you guys come in our neck of the woods sometime soon, because I'm very much looking forward to trying this device out and, kind of starting the journey back into enjoying sports back the way that I used to. I feel like, honestly, the feedback you've gotten from people, Bree, is 100% accurate. Is that there's more to a sporting event than just listening to it. It's feeling it through, what's going on, being able to see with your fingers and being able to utilize that in a way where you can kind of keep up with the people you're around. Because let's face it, sports is is an amazing social event that sometimes within that social event, you want to belong, you want to fit in, you want to be able to keep up with whatever everyone else is seeing. And someone told me a long time ago when I first lost my sight that we live in a sighted world, and and people that are blind are always playing catch up. And this is a way, in my mind, for OneCourt, is a way for a person like myself to really play a significant catch-up game to those people that are enjoying sports with full sight. So I thank all of your team. And I'm going to say we're going to wrap this interview up. And I would love to thank Bree and Simon from OneCourt for coming out and making the time to talk to us today about this amazing device. And once again, you want to check out their website at OneCourt.io. That's OneCourt.io. Go check them out. Get a part of their newsletter. Get involved. This is something that if you know a person or have a family member that is blind or it has trouble seeing at live sporting events, this is a device that will help them and it will bring them into the experience. So once again, I want to thank Simon and Bree for joining us. And that's all we have for right now. Join us next week on the Pattison Ave Sports Show. And until then, see you later.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.